Every city faces the same basic risk. Buildings are close together. Materials burn. Cooking fires are common. Light comes from flame. Before modern fire departments, this risk was constant. There were no engines waiting in stations, no pressurized hoses, no centralized emergency response. Instead, cities relied on simple tools, shared responsibility, and routine preparation. Fire was not treated as a rare disaster. It was treated as an expected possibility. In this video, we'll look at how cities handled fire before modern fire departments existed, and how these quiet systems functioned as part of everyday urban life. Pre-modern cities burned easily. Buildings were made of wood. Roofs were thatched or shingled. Floors were timber. Fires were used constantly, for cooking, for heating, for lighting. Sparks were unavoidable. So was smoke. Most cities accepted that fires would happen. The question was how quickly they could be controlled. Fire prevention mattered more than fire response. Cities regulated building materials. In some areas, stone was required for walls. Wooden roofs were discouraged or banned. Open flames were restricted at night. Curfews reduced movement with candles. Chimneys were inspected. Ovens were regulated. These rules were not always followed, but they shaped everyday behavior. Fire safety began at the household level. Each home was expected to manage its own risk. Cooking fires were watched carefully. Ashes were removed regularly. Water was kept nearby. Many households stored buckets specifically for fire use. These buckets were not decorative. They were part of daily readiness. The most important firefighting tool was the bucket. Buckets were made of leather or wood. They were durable but not standardized. Some cities required households to own one or more fire buckets. Others stored communal buckets in public spaces. Hooks, ladders, and axes were also common tools. These were used to pull down burning material and create fire breaks. When a fire started, response was collective. There was no waiting for professionals. Neighbors ran toward the fire, not away from it. Buckets were passed hand to hand. Water moved slowly, one container at a time. This method was inefficient but immediate. Speed mattered more than volume. Early detection was critical. Cities relied on human observation. Watchmen were stationed at night. They walked streets and towers. If smoke or flame was seen, alarms were raised. Bells were rung. Shouts echoed through streets. These sounds triggered a familiar response. People knew what to do. The night watch played a central role. Their duties included fire detection, not suppression. They enforced curfews, checked extinguished fires, listened for unusual sounds. Their presence reduced risk, but did not eliminate it. Fire remained a constant concern. Over time, informal response became more organized. Cities established bucket brigades. Participation was often mandatory. Guilds, neighborhoods, or parishes were assigned roles. Some fetched water, some passed buckets, some cleared debris. The system relied on coordination, not strength. Access to water mattered. Wells were critical, so were rivers, ponds, and cisterns. Cities mapped these sources carefully. During a fire, nearby water points were quickly exhausted. Longer distances slowed response. This limitation shaped urban planning. Sometimes, water was not enough. When a fire spread, buildings were deliberately destroyed. Walls were pulled down, roofs were removed. This created gaps the fire could not cross. The decision was practical, not emotional. Property loss was preferable to total destruction. City officials supervised major fires. They directed labor, ordered demolitions, resolved disputes afterward. Looting was a concern. Guards were posted to maintain order. Fires disrupted normal authority but did not suspend it. Once flames were controlled, work continued. Debris was cleared, embers were watched, damage was assessed. Records were written, fines were issued, rules were restated. Rebuilding followed existing regulations or new ones. In some cities, fire insurance emerged. Insurers encouraged safer construction. Metal fire marks identified insured buildings. This influenced response priorities. Protection became uneven. Still, it introduced financial structure to fire risk. Fire danger varied by season. Winter increased indoor fires. Summer dried materials. Wind turned small fires into major ones. Cities adjusted rules accordingly. Extra watchmen were hired. Open flames were restricted. The system adapted slowly. Despite preparation, fires caused devastation. Bucket brigades were slow. Water supply was limited. Coordination broke down. Large fires overwhelmed systems. Cities rebuilt and adjusted, but risk remained. By the 18th and 19th centuries, change began. Volunteer fire companies formed. They trained regularly, maintained equipment, responded more quickly. These groups were still local and limited, but they marked a transition. Gradually, cities professionalized fire response. Paid firefighters replaced volunteers. Engines replaced buckets. Infrastructure improved. The old systems faded, but did not vanish overnight. Before modern fire departments, cities relied on preparation and routine. Fire safety was shared. Response was immediate but limited. Buckets, bells, watchmen, and neighbors formed the system. It was imperfect, but it worked often enough to keep cities functioning. Modern firefighting replaced these routines, but for centuries, this was how cities lived with fire. Through vigilance, cooperation, and constant readiness.